And what happens is in a lot of cultures, they have a very sort of work and a hard work mentality. Now, that's in all different cultures, but in some cultures, it's more of a sort of a hard work mentality and focused on career goals and so on. And I see a lot of people come in who want to be in medical school or want to be an entrepreneur or want to be a lawyer or whatever. And they feel like if they don't get that goal, they can never be happy again. That their whole life and happiness depends on that specific goal being met, and their family's behind that, and they're behind that, and they've never ever pictured a world outside of that. And that's the same as, say, an athlete who's been training. Let's take someone who's a footballer and had a knee injury that means they can't. Instantly they can end up in mental health problems only because they're holding those really rigid, irrational beliefs of, I must achieve this goal. I must get where I want to be. I must have this life as I've pictured it in my head for my future. And that is not a flexible belief system. Because what we need is a flexible belief system so that when obstacles come along on our journey in life, we can adjust to those, because there are going to be them. We view our life to be this sort of perfect way, like, this is going to work and that's going to work and then this is going to go like this. And we don't take into account obstacles. An OCD recovery journey is full of obstacles, new symptoms, new thoughts, people not understanding. We don't need them to understand, but it can bring added frustration when you're not yet at a place of understanding that you don't need their approval. How to get better, how to break down your fears. Let's look at OCD briefly in the sort of context of it. What is it? It's basically just a fear cycle, okay? We've built it up so much more than it is. Yes, there's a genetic component, but it's basically a fear cycle. We're scared of something. That's what everything I do is about. So in my job, I'm working anxiety coaching and OCD coaching people, so helping them to see where they're getting themselves scared, help them with their perspectives, learning to see things rationally, learning to use philosophy to help change their beliefs so that they don't catastrophize and make themselves so scared, as well as giving them a good insight into what's going on in their thinking with that fear cycle. And that was key to me when I decided to go into working with OCD, because I realized that people needed to learn these mental skills and then share them with each other, with other humans, because that's what it is. It's not just something for OCD, it's for life. When you get better, but you get better from the sort of the anxious cycle and the OCD cycle, you can then say to your friend, hey, you're having a bit of problem with your exams, you're a bit worried about X, Y, Z, this is how you should approach that, this is how you can change your thinking. And this goes into all areas of life, and that's the goal. What we're trying to do is rational thinking, learning to teach other humans rational thinking, and learning to teach them to distance themselves with thoughts and anxiety, and all the other little parts that go together with that. And that's key for everyone to really to help bring OCD out and anxiety out the dark, because as we know, it's very misunderstood. I went from place to place, specialist to specialist, trying to get better. And I learned lots of great tools along the way, very important components involved in the OCD recovery journey. But I certainly didn't understand enough to stop that chronic guilt and chronic anxiety cycle, which has been my life's work in helping people really understand how to get under that sort of web of fear that's latched around the core fears, keeping this all going. And that's vital, because it was a very lonely road. You know, I first developed OCD around 17 years old, and I didn't know what the hell had gone wrong with my brain. And barely anyone I went to really could stop me from ruminating over a real event from the past, because I was convinced this is a real event, this is different, this is the exception, this is not just OCD, as we all do. And that cycle went on and on. And later on, when I developed sensory motor OCD, that felt like an inner torturous cycle where barely anyone understood. I mean, today, even when talking about sensory motor, I rarely hear people say, hey, do you know, the main thing fueling this is you're scared of that sensation being stuck forever, and you're scared of that sensation being latched and destroying your day.